here, and it's here, and oops, nope, I like the video. This is weird, very weird. Hello everybody, and here we are. We are here. I'm typing we are here. It is 12:43 at night. I'm typing we are here. This is the It is 12:43 at night. Much promised late show. So it's the late show. So for those of you who are rooting for whatever little success you may feel the Raiders' quest to build a stadium in Las Vegas achieves, this is your night. Sort of. Because a gigantic, humongous, enormous bullet was dodged so far. In that the final form of the GOP tax bill, the much talked about GOP tax bill, has saved professional sports as we know it and allowed billionaires and millionaires around the world, well, at least those that intend to build stadiums in America, to continue to enjoy tax-exempt status that comes with working with a municipal government to float a bond. And that includes the Oakland Raiders Las Vegas / UNLV stadium. A gigantic $150 million additional debt on the bond issue has been, for right now, avoided. And the reason why I say for right now is because there's no telling what that person in the White House with the some call orange hair is going to do when he realizes, if he ever stops to focus on realizing that the NFL is going to come away with, hey, their provisions intact, what they've enjoyed intact. Now, the contrary point of view is that Donald Trump is happy to make his friend Jerry Jones happy. Okay? And Jerry Jones has another friend, a mutual friend of President Trump, in Sheldon Adelson. So even though I don't have any solid proof of this, a little birdie flying around is tweeting to me that there's a possibility that not just Jerry Jones, but Oakland Raiders owner Mark Davis, who knows Sheldon Adelson, and others have had some say in this. Yeah, I did say Mark Davis with respect to Sheldon Adelson, because I don't for a moment believe that relationship is entirely dead. In other words, that they're not talking at all. Now, what the extent of that relationship is right now, we have to go on the public face that Adelson isn't involved directly. But as long as Adelson has a relationship with Donald Trump, as long as Adelson holds the relationship he does in Las Vegas, and as long as Mark Davis is trying to do business in Las Vegas, it is out of the realm of impossibility to believe that they haven't talked at all. Okay, at all. So, what remains is that you have this situation intact. Okay, that's where it is. And that's completely where it is. Now, does that mean the deal does not have problems? No. And I remind anyone, even if, and it's quite likely you were not paying attention, that this deal and its flaws still remain completely, incredibly, massively intact. So the bullet that was dodged would only worsen the situation regarding the fact that the stadium tax is not bringing in enough money to cover the bond issue with the debt coverage ratio 1.5 intact. That still remains. And I don't care if no one's talking about it. If anyone cares to get off their lazy ass and do the work as I did, they will discover the same damn thing. And I also might add, I will add, that people in Las Vegas and Clark County know this. But no one wants to be the bad person and say it. So it's left to Zinni to spread the bad news. And that's precisely what I'm doing. Okay, there it is. So now I say hello to everybody. Rick Rice, how are you? Rick Rice calls Jerry Jones the devil. The real Raider says, T. Cooper, hey, T, haven't seen you. The champ is here. The champ, who says, I agree with you, Zinni. Relationships not completely dead. Tell him, Zinni. That's what I'm doing. Paul Ferreira says, where's Mark Davis going to come up with $900 million out of pocket? That still remains. Yeah, the problems with this deal still remain. This was one that they dodged. Unless, of course, President Trump gets up on the wrong side of bed and decides to yank the tax exemptions. The Real Raider Juice says, let them leave Oakland. This jazz about the Titans, I simply can't rubber stamp. Just because some news publication put out what Scott McKibben guessed doesn't mean, has nothing to do at all with the truth. It just has something to do with a news headline that sadly some neophyte who had access to a publication that has access to Google News, okay, put that out there. What other? Champ, is nice to see you. Nice to see you, Champ. So, all right. Silver in Black is here. Silver in Black is here, talking about Coach Tony Fardella, long for another time. Now, where are we in total, not just with the Raiders, but also with other projects? It means that the Washington Redskins' quest for a public-private partnership in its financing for its proposed new stadium is still intact. Now, there are those who didn't want that to happen. The now former governor of Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, had specifically said no tax dollars for the stadium. And he wanted it to be privately financed. There are a number of people who wanted it to be entirely privately financed. Of course, none of this touches the Oakland Athletics, who have always proposed to pay their own dime for their own stadium, okay? And then, of course, we have the Inglewood situation where the stadium for the Los Angeles Rams and Los Angeles Chargers, if the Chargers decide to stick around, is under construction and won't be completed until, what, 2021, 2022. But that's all privately financed, so that's not touched at all either. So we've got those situations. And then we have, what else? We have, in baseball, we have Arlington, Texas, which was planning on, I believe, a $500 million subsidy. In that case, that's saved, as are a number of projects in the professional level. And I say the professional level because the provision that was installed in the House version of the GOP tax bill was focused only on professional sports stadiums, not college. Not college, okay? So, T. Cooper says, hoping that happens, that number 45 gets up on the wrong side of the bed and screws the Raiders deal in Vegas, and that could happen. Joe Lopez says, let them leave. Boycott the NFL if the move happens. John Marks writes, what do you mean this bill helps Vegas? Well, it does. It helps because the provision, the GOP tax bill as it's written, and I'm talking about from the perspective of sports, there are other ways where it, of course, hurts. And that has to do with education, healthcare, you name it, right? But I'm talking about the matter of the NFL stadium that we've talked about. Because if the bill were passed and the provision to allow a bond to be let that's tax exempt if you work with your municipal authority, if that were removed, it would have added $150 million of bond debt to the $750 million, really $700 million planned, it hasn't happened yet, planned bond issue, okay? I note for everybody watching this now and watching this in the future, no, as of this writing, public money has been given to the Raiders of any kind. None, okay? Joseph Binsman, how are you? Joseph says, evening, folks. Republicans just chose the worst option of their lose-lose situation. They will pay for their cowardice and greed November 2018. I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely 1,000% correct on that. As Robin Williams would put it, I sure do. You're quite correct. And where we are right now is that the GOP tax bill as a whole is the most unpopular piece of large-scale legislation, arguably in the history of the United States. Yes. And absolutely. And John Marks says, that does it, let the Raiders leave. Well, here's the thing. I never pinned my hopes on this plan. Others did. And for those of you who are continuous watchers, you know I've said this, to me, is not the nail in the coffin, because the coffin already has a lot of nails in it. And it's structurally a bad deal. This would have made it just worse. Completely worse. But you have to understand where it would have made it worse. The $150 million, as the stadium authority in the face of Chairman Stephen Hill said, would have been applied to the Raiders to pay for, and not Clark County. Otherwise, Clark County would have been forced to work outside the way the law, the Southern Nevada Tourism and Investment Act, is written, which says that the public entity or public entities can only contribute total 39% of the stadium construction cost. All right, no stadium construction cost. So in asking for Clark County to pay that additional bond debt, it would have been, as the way the stadium authority chose to look at it, it would have been considered outside of the act, because there was no way, no provision in the law to increase the tax rate to adjust for some sort of outside legislation like a change in the tax code, which is what that was and is. All right, so that would have come out of the Raiders' revenues, and the Raiders are already, unless they can find $1 billion in sponsorship revenues, are already and annually $27 million in the hole. And when you consider the off-site infrastructure requirements placed upon them and the parking requirements that are placed upon them, those costs combine to over $1 billion if you include the relocation fee and additional costs the Raiders have to pay. And I might add, costs that do not appear in the case of Oakland. But for Oakland Mayor's Libby Schaaf's direct action in working not to retain the Raiders, and yes, I did say that. Okay, yes, I did say that, because the mayor wanted the Raiders gone. And I can now tell you that black and white. The mayor wanted the Raiders gone. She had instructed her Assistant Chief Administrative Officer, Claudia Capio, not to do all that she could with respect to the lot proposal. You heard that here for the first time. That is true. Okay? Were it not for that, we could have retained the Raiders. We would have had a better shot at retaining the Raiders. But the mayor put on a face and acted accordingly. And that is from a city hall source. And that's all over the building. That's commonly known among the council. Okay? The mayor spearheaded that. All right. Rick Rice says, tremendous, tremendous. T. Cooper says, in essence, behind the 8 ball. Right. Joseph Binsman says, I'm starting to worry after the shady smack of greed passes, the Republicans might just aim for Mueller. It's another story, but still something to think about and not let happen. Well, yeah, it's outside the purview of this conversation. John Mark says Libby Schaaf will lose the election. You know, Libby's my god sister. I back her. I'm putting money in the election. And I am concerned right now, and I will say this, that Libby is vulnerable. And I am extremely concerned that she's not making the right moves to get reelected. And I say all this with great sadness because I love her very much, okay? So it's been a very personally difficult road for me to travel. But on the other hand, it is the road that I chose. And, well, it's also the road that years ago was, in a sense, paved for me. But, hey, look, that's it, all right? I mean, I back Libby for re-election. She's my god sister. I love her parents very much. I love her very much. I love her family very much. But that does not stop me from saying that she has made some enormous errors here. Fantastically large errors in judgment. All right? So, okay. So, anyway. Harry Dunn says, yes, John. And John says, this is bunker snipe. T. Cooper says, with all due respect, Zinni, I honestly hope she doesn't get reelected. Hey, you know what? We all have our opinions. I mean, but I understand how others feel about this, but there's my position, and I believe all of this is salvageable. I do not believe in absolutes. I do not believe in one stop. I believe that in continuums, that things consistently go on, and you try, like Hades, to change them. That's what I believe. I believe that everything can be fixed. Otherwise, what's the point of, and I say this philosophically, what's the point of living if you don't have any desire, if you don't have a drive to make things around you better? What's the point? Okay? So, John Mark says, can the Raiders still be retained in Oakland? Yeah. The Raiders, oh, definitely. 1,000%. It is there. But in order, and I think all of you know, and I've heard this saying, in order to go forward, you have to have a clear look back without blinders. And that's what I have. I have a clear look and understanding back at what happened. I know precisely where we are right now, where we can move forward. T. Cooper says, especially in the way she handled the Raiders in the situation that could have made her a hero. And she can still be that hero with the A's. So the Lord has created a position yet again where she can save Oakland and herself. And the A's, I know, certainly want her to do that. They want her to be that person, if you will. The question is, does Libby want to be that person? And in my view, I don't think she has a choice, okay? I really don't. And the reason I don't is because just like the Raiders issue, this is a high-profile issue. And I know that she's got people at the consulting firm that they're helping her out, who I have a great deal of respect for and admiration for, but I do not agree with, if they are calling the shots here, the way they're doing it. I just don't. I also have to say that the consulting firm is the same that helped and represented the late San Francisco Mayor Ed Lee, who I, again, say rest in peace. He was a great person, friend of me, client I had in 1992 when I worked for Noel Day and Polaris Research as the research economist on a study called African Americans in San Francisco from 1960 to 1990. Now, Patrick M. Blackman, how are you, Crawford? Welcome. Patrick writes, Mark Davis is like a wildebeest and migrating. He has to cross the water while the crocodiles wait. He will have to go back to the land and face the lions. Wow, what a profound statement. Let me read this again by Patrick M. Blackman. He writes, Mark Davis is like a wildebeest migrating. He has to cross the water while the crocodiles wait. He'll have to go back to the land and face the lions. It's Patrick M. Blackman on an inspired Friday night. Crawford writes, the Raiders are still broke. He is correct. Elizabeth Barron says Oakland Hoodoo Waters. And Elizabeth Barron says who say. Anyway, but Elizabeth, welcome to Zinni 62. Glad to have you here. John Mark says, bring back the Oakland Invaders. Elizabeth Barron says, hey, Zinni. I say hello again, and I say welcome to Zinni 62. What does this also mean for other stadiums in the horizon? Let's take a look at the Jaguars situation, because I am not one who believes that Jacksonville is going to let the Jaguars just simply walk out the door. Jacksonville has one of the best economic development programs and people in the country. But remember, Jacksonville landed a Super Bowl. Jacksonville is focused on its constant development. So would Jacksonville allow the Jaguars simply to walk away without a competing plan to retain them? My vote is, my thought is absolutely not. And absolutely not. No. Same with the Titans. I don't see the Titans, and I don't care what anyone says, I don't see the Titans just leaving Tennessee. Okay, the Titans have a deep history there, an incredibly deep fan base, and they don't have the same kind of path that the Rams took. You know, LA first, then St. Louis for just long enough for them to build up a generation fan base, and they lead back for LA. The Titans don't have that, neither do the Jaguars. So I don't see that. And again, if I were a betting person from an economic development perspective, I would not bet against Florida. The South, I wouldn't bet against Tennessee either, because you're talking about, think about it, okay? You're talking about two areas where football teams exists, where they're most likely to have sports-friendly economic development efforts. All right? I mean, if you think about it, have you ever heard of a football team leaving the South in the post-war era to relocate someplace else? I mean, a professional football team, all right? I mean, think about it. We have the Cowboys, they're in Dallas. We have Houston as the Oilers, okay, Texas, and they went to Tennessee, but they're still within the South, right? You've got the New Orleans Saints, which threatened to go to LA, but didn't. And for an extreme sort of reasons related to the damage that was caused by Hurricane Katrina. You have the Miami Dolphins, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have the Carolina Panthers. So you think about all those teams, those organizations, none of them have seriously threatened to leave their regions. The only time they've been candidates for relocation is by somebody putting, you know, an idea out in the media and someone taking what is really an idea and making it sound as if it's gospel truth, and it's not, okay? That's why I put out the video, Beware of Fake News. Remember that one regarding this? Okay? So, and Patrick and Blackman gets the reward for the comment of the night, okay? And Crawford says, when will Godfather return? Ask Godfather. And so Crawford says, Doug Jones needs to be sworn in soon. John Mark says, short history. Yeah, absolutely short history. And Crawford says, the bill could be repealed again in 2019. Well, I remind you that the president hasn't signed it into law and the GOP hasn't officially passed it. It just looks like it's going to happen. So this thing may still not occur. This is not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. The GOP tax bill is not a certainty to pass. It looks better today than it did 2 days ago, but it still does not look good. All right? At all. It just does not. So, doesn't. Hey, how many of you all follow sports tech like, or fintech, you know, like working out, Fitbit, that sort of thing? Because I'm preparing for CES, and I'm going to start some live streams very soon related to CES because I've got my hotel, and I've got the dates I'm going to be there, the 7th through 13th, and everything that I do from there is going to be focused on tech, but I want to do some techs very soon, starting tomorrow. Just asking. And so, oh, John Mark says, what about the Buffalo Bills? They're also proposing a new stadium there. Aaron Blaylock says, if the Jaguars' no team came to the Oakland, would they be able to take the Raiders' name in Vegas? No, I don't want to entertain that. And the reason I don't is because it comes from fake news. Okay? No. You know what the most likely scenario is? The most likely scenario is for Oakland to get an expansion team. That's the most likely scenario. Do I see any of the Southern teams moving to Oakland? No, I simply don't. I'm calling bullshit on the entire idea. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Again, no Southern team in history, post-war history, has moved to the West, to make that happen. So maybe it's the first time for everything, but this just, it doesn't happen because those regions are accustomed to fighting the economic development fight to retain their teams. That's why. They have no problem coming up with great proposals, great public-private partnerships that work to their owners, the benefit of the team owners and the public. So no, given their economic development histories, I don't see that happening. Do you realize that during much of the Super Bowl rotation, it looked like there was almost all Southern? It was crazy. I mean, look at how many times Miami has had the Super Bowl. Look at how many times it's been in New Orleans. Look at all the football-related large-scale events that have been held in the South, be it pro football or college football. And so you're going to tell me that a team is just going to up and pick up and leave, especially when the United States population is migrating that way because California is a high-cost state? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. You have the movie industry moving down here. You got people moving down here. So this is Orlando, by a number of measures, is the fastest growing regional area, urban area in the United States, or at least it was. So I'm not seeing that. I'm happy to argue about it, but I'm not seeing it. Crawford says, could the stadium tax bill re-include if they have to start over? It could, yeah. Patrick and Blackman says, isn't Jacksonville a military town? Can you see the Jaguars leaving a military town in the South where a region like that loves football? No, I can't see it at all. And Jacksonville is also a low land cost area. It's also part of the state of Florida. And I just cannot see. Let me put it this way. I can imagine a scenario where Jacksonville, the Jaguars may relocate someplace, but I can also imagine a scenario where Jacksonville's city fathers and mothers work to install a package to retain them that includes a new stadium. I can completely see that. But, to answer your question, Patrick, hey, why do I speak so highly of Jacksonville? It's because back in 1999 through 2001, I competed against Jacksonville for the 2005 Super Bowl. They really had their act together, and they were led by their economic development director, Heather Surface. And they did a completely wonderful job of marshaling a coherent, well-organized, well-financed approach to landing the 2005 Super Bowl, which was also innovative in that it used cruise ships to make up for a 5,000-plus room hotel deficiency. Cruise ships, okay? And our problem in Oakland is that we really had enough hotels, but Oakland Mayor Jerry Brown ran around telling people we didn't. And this is what really bothers me. I'm the Super Bowl expert, and yet Jerry, who was the mayor at the time, didn't turn all questions to me as the point person. He acted like he knew. Here's my point. The lay idea, I'm digressing here for a moment, okay? So bear with me, okay? The lay idea, the lay view is that Oakland doesn't have enough hotels to host the Super Bowl. But NFL specifications call for the bidder to identify over 50,000 top quality hotel rooms within an hour's drive. An hour's drive. Excuse me, not 50,000. Yeah. 24,000 top quality hotel rooms within an hour's drive an hour's drive of the stadium. We had then over 30,000 top quality hotel rooms, and no, it was 50,000, excuse me. We had over 30,000 top quality hotel rooms in San Francisco alone, across the bay. We had, by my estimation then, over 77,000 top quality hotel rooms in the Bay Area at that time. So we were well equipped from a hotel perspective to host the Super Bowl game. It's just that what I didn't have, and because of the mayor's statements, which went on to the public via television, people watch television, there was no social media counter in those days, right? I couldn't just say, hey, the mayor is wrong. But what happened was that people would say, well, gee, okay, hotel general managers would say, hey, we hear the mayor's not behind this, Jerry. So I had to literally work the phones and counter what Jerry had said. It was ridiculous. He put me really in an ugly bind, okay? The man who's now the governor of California did that. All right? So, hey, we'll go, baby. It's nice to see you. And so, Jerry did that. So it was hard for me to go to, say, Napa and get someone to sign our 13-page NFL hotel contract, because they were of the opinion, look, why should I sign it, which binds me to these hotel room price constraints, if you might not get it. And then on the other hand, if you do get it, then you don't need me to sign it. And really the thing about it is I did need them to sign it. I needed to show those hotel rooms. It was not the greatest situation to be in. Toward the end of the preparation period and just before our presentation, then NFL head of special events Jim Steig, the Mr. Super Bowl of his time, allowed me to get a letter from the San Mateo County Convention and Visitors Bureau stating that, thanks to their executive director, that they would be willing to pledge 15,000 hotel rooms. That really helped a great deal. I wish I'd had that up front, but that helped, get us in the door, right? Because I had signed, we had signed, meaning myself and working as the only staff to the Oakland Alameda County Sports Commission that I created, and the Oakland Convention and Visitors Bureau headed by the late Manette Beliveau, were able to secure hotel rooms for 7,800, able to secure 7,800 hotel rooms under contract. We needed, at the minimum, we needed 17,000, okay, under contract. So the 15,000 really, the letter for a pledge of 15,000 really helped a great deal. But Jerry jumping in could have helped even more. That kind of relationship, that kind of problem that I just told you about, my counterparts didn't have that problem. And then my counterpart, plural, were Jacksonville for 2006, Detroit for 2006, Jacksonville for 2005, and Miami for 2005. My competitors were Miami and Jacksonville. So we walked in the room, and my friend to this day, Gary Bauer of Bauer Limousines, Bauer Transportation in the Bay Area, will tell you this because he was there and really helped me tremendously. Our competitors, and this is also history, our competitors for 2005 Super Bowl were Jacksonville, Miami. So it was Jacksonville, Oakland, Miami. We lost in the third ballot. And were it not for 8 NFL owner votes that could have swung our way, but didn't, it could have been in Oakland. And I would have made history. Not that I haven't already. All right. So, Raider Kuko, how you doing? Raider Kuko says, just join link. Can you do a recap? Yep. Talking about how the GOP tax bill does not have the provision that would have taken away tax-exempt bond status or allowances or provisions for those planning professional sports stadiums, and how that benefits the Oakland Raiders, NFL, UNLV, Las Vegas Stadium, in that a gigantic $150 million debt in addition to the current planned bond debt was avoided. That is not to say that the project itself still does not have tremendous economic structural problems, but this would have simply added to that poor bond revenue problem, that poor bond problem with respect to the low stadium tax rate of collection with respect to need that exists. Okay, so John Santos, how are you? Welcome. Thank you. You just joined. Thank you, John. Nice to have you. Patrick in Blackman says San Francisco couldn't help you, Zinni. They're right next to Oakland. No, that's not true, Pat. That's not true. In fact, I'm glad you said that because the great former Speaker of the Assembly and San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown went around telling the public that if Oakland got the Super Bowl, San Francisco would not get it, which was a complete lie. Okay? I told him it wasn't true. History proved that I was correct because San Francisco got their Super Bowl anyway. And he could have simply helped us to the benefit of the Bay Area. But there is a history of San Francisco and Oakland doing very little because it has this assumption that San Francisco should do it, and it acts like it. And so we let San Francisco take the lead on everything, and we don't work hard to do much of anything. That has been Oakland's history. Oakland boosters don't like it, but if you want to prove that I'm wrong, hey, do so. Because what do we have in our history but what we've done in the 60s and prior to that with the development of what became the Port of Oakland, which is still great. But what else do we have? Okay, we have the Coliseum built by Bob Nahas, but have we worked to develop it into a crown jewel for the 21st century? No, we haven't. We have a litany of false starts and failures, and that is a fact. And it's only getting worse because we've forgotten how to build a great cache of affordable housing. But I could go on and on about that. Let me get back to your points. Let's see here. I missed your comments. Malcontent, how are you? Oh, John Mark says Jerry Brown is a bad guy and a bad governor. I don't think he's a bad governor. Okay? I completely disagree with how Jerry Brown handled the Super Bowl effort and me. But as I wrote in my column when I had it in the San Francisco Chronicles website, sfgate.com, Jerry Brown rightfully deserves to be governor of California for a whole host of reasons I could spend hours of talking about. That does not mean I endorse or back what he did in this case. I do not. All right? I simply do not. At all. So, you know, but hey, look, Jerry did a number of great things. He got the state of California out of what seemed to be a situation of seemingly chronic budget deficits, okay? He really got us out of that. And he really solidified the California culture because he is the quintessential California, okay? Again, I could talk for hours about Jerry Brown in California, but I digress. Now, John Santos on a digression says, last great Jedi movie, just wanted, I went out there, hashtag stay in Oakland. I believe it was the best Star Wars movie ever. I saw it last night, took my mom to see it. Malcontent says, Z, while the current GOP tax plan doesn't, quote, help, unquote, Oakland, the Raiders still cannot afford to develop their Las Vegas stadium. That's correct. And again, I've said this before, and I'll say it for the umpteenth time, the problem of the GOP tax bill, and I said this from the outset, does not at all mask the current economic structure problems with that deal. Again, the stadium hotel tax rate is too small to effectively fund a bond issue of $700 million over a 30-year period at a 4.14% interest rate. And the chain of events that have led to what we now call 1 October is not only not helping the situation, but the numbers are already proving that it's making it far worse. So, and it's hilarious sadly hilarious to watch the stadium authority types run around and try to basically put lipstick on a pig. But that's precisely what they're trying to do. Now, Wiggle Babies points out Jerry Brown is most definitely better than Arnold Schwarzenegger or Gray Davis. I like Gray Davis, by the way. I've met and talked to him a couple of times. John Mark says, okay, can we agree to disagree? So, John Mark says Jerry Brown makes Jerry Jones look like a saint. I like Jerry, though. Eric Tolliver, how you doing? He says, thanks for the info, Zinni. You are appreciated. Eric, thank you very much for that, Mr. Tolliver. I really like that. And, no, I mean, I thought, and I believe, Jerry Brown will go down as arguably the greatest governor in California history. He's been governor twice, okay? And the Prop 13 thing, I don't know about that. Better than Ronald Reagan? Absolutely. Will he be better than his dad? Yeah. But look, Jerry came in and he saved it. He saved California. For all the problems that we've had, Jerry Brown in 2010 came in and saved the state of California from continued fiscal ruin. He got the state together. I cannot say that enough. I don't like that he got rid of redevelopment, and Jerry will tell you in his, if he is honest, you know, in the conversation, and I would believe he would tell you behind closed doors that was a mistake. Numbers prove it out. Because it's created the affordable housing problem that we have now, getting rid of redevelopment, which caused every municipality to have a reasonably well-financed affordable housing fund. Okay, so, and I do remember Governor George Dumasian. Oh, I did say it like that. Patrick M. Blackman says, Vegas will always be shaky ground when it comes to professional franchises. Hey, ML Scott, how are you? John Mark says, I'm not down. Nope, I'm here. Nope, I'm here. Nope. Here, John. Here. I'm here, John. Here. There is, but anyway, okay. We've got, I think I'll share this on Facebook and get the numbers up while I can. Share. Let's see here. I'll put this out on LinkedIn. That's what I'm doing right now. I haven't done this time. Okay, there. Share. Got it. All right, and I will put this out on Facebook, as a friend of mine calls it. Facebook. That on Facebook, and then hashtag live stream, like that. I hit post to Facebook, so that's done. All right, cool. Now, oops. Onward. Now we've got, okay, so what's next about this that is worth noting before we close in about 15 minutes or so? What's next? The what next is this. And, oh, T. Cooper says I missed his question. What was your question, T. Cooper? Oh, and by the way, if you're watching this as video on demand, I'm responding to comments that you cannot see that come up in the chat in front of me, okay? T. Cooper says I missed this question. Let me go back and... K. Coop, did you copy and paste that question, please? Meanwhile, I'm going to go down to Wiggle Babies, who asks, hey, Zinni, you hear about NHL in Seattle? Looks like they're getting the green light to be number 32. I did see that, and that's fantastic for the NHL. I worry, however, to what degree the NHL can sustain itself. In other words, how far can the NHL expand before it reaches the popularity breaking point? Now, the counter argument to what I just said is that the continued globalization of international societies guarantees a healthy set of new eyeballs as the NHL moves forward. Why? Because of people migrating from, say, the Ukraine to the United States, and you've got this set of Ukrainians that play hockey, and you get the idea, right? A dynamic that does not benefit the National Football League because the NFL doesn't have that kind of set of stories. That hurts. It doesn't have to be the Ukraine. It could be Azerbaijan, or it could be Mongolia, or it could be Nigeria. It could be, the point is that basketball and hockey are more international than American football, which is, why it's still called American football. And then, of course, there's soccer, which is intensely international. So you have all of these sports where the players that are capable quickly of getting players that have name recognition in another country to play in America. They're nipping at the heels of the NFL, and the NFL, if it isn't concerned, should be. That dynamic alone is already eating away at the league's popularity consistently. So Crawford says, by the way, Wiggle Baby says $650 million expansion price. That's huge. And Malcontent, Malcontent says PM Blackman, with respect to Vegas, doesn't have solid enough demographics nor economics to support an NFL team without strong ticket sales to tourists. Not a good business plan. And not only that strong ticket sales to tourists idea is already being damaged by the event called 1 October, as I predicted would happen. On the way to the 2017 NFL annual meeting, it is here on my Zenny 62 channel in my conversation with then ESPN analyst John Clayton at the San Francisco airport. All you have to do is go to Zenny 62 and type John Clayton, you'll see it. Crawford says the deal is still not a slam dunk like anyone thinks. Correct. Neither deal is. Neither deal. Now, Tor, I don't see your question. So please copy and paste, because if I go back, here's the problem. If I go back to find your question, as I go back, people are typing and they're moving forward, so I got to come forward and I got to try to find their questions and comments. So you can make it easy on me by finding what you did, copying it and repasting it. I apologize. Now, Malcontent says, Seattle is NHL team number 32 is the limit. There is a very strong interest in sufficient disposable income up there in Seattle, I agree. Plus, the Pacific Division needs to reach geographic parity with the East and the Midwest. Wiggle Baby says, so they got the green light to be in expansion pretty much. Wiggle Baby says, yes, yay, Seattle and Portland are good NHL locations. I 1000% agree. Kevin KD is here. Kevin says, writes, hockey is not the cash generator that soccer or F1 Formula 1 racing are for a multitude of reasons. John Marks says Oakland should be number 32. I agree, John Marks, 1000%. Oakland is a sleeping sports giant. And I use the term sleeping because we are consistently lazy when it comes to sports and economic development. There's just no question about it. Crawford says, John, did I hear that Seattle gave an MOU to a group to renovate the Key Arena? I'll check on that. Wiggle Baby says, yeah, Oakland could work too. Wiggle Baby says, bring the seats back, baby. Golden State seats. Yes. Keep Oracle Arena. Crawford says, move the Arizona Coyotes to the Bay Area. Do you realize that we're in a position where if we work it, we could actually beat the Warriors Plan Chase Center in terms of event attraction? If we establish now an aggressive organization in Oakland to do that, of course we're not doing that. But you know what I mean? We could do that. And we should do that. We really should. We should counter what's happening and build a sports and entertainment complex right there, including the Warriors. And, I'd love it if the A's would play along. They don't want to. But if they don't want to, that doesn't mean we still shouldn't do it, okay? But, you know, as I start to think about it yet again, you know, having the A's there, there's still enough room for pro football. And if we bring in land across the freeway, I think we could do a lot of really wonderful, magical stuff down there. And so Malcontent says, for your information, the San Francisco Spiders NHL team used to practice at Oakland Ice Rink. Yes. John Mark says, I think we can do that because I didn't quite read that one. Eric Tolliver writes, speaking of Seattle, we may have to follow the blueprint of the Seahawks fan base in order to keep the Raiders in Oakland. And can you spell that out, Mr. Tolliver? Tolliver, excuse me, I'm not quite following you. Mr. Blackman writes, has anybody ever thought about trying to be like Oakland Live just as LA Live? Yeah, I mean, I think the LA Live model is a one to copy. I know some feel it's almost cliche, but look, it works. Now, LA Live is privately financed. LA Live consists of a number of different uses that, combined with a 40-year bond period, throw off enough residual income to pay for the bond issues to build those structures that exist. They feed off of each other. And the Coliseum should be LA Live, without question. What I put together for Mark Davis was, in a sense, with the hotel wings, financing the stadium, was a nod toward that. And it wasn't an exact copy. But what I have was a building, a central shopping center mall that connects the stadium and the arena with the hotel. What I'm talking about right now is the center area that's between the stadium and the arena. We would that berm, we would take out that berm, flatten out that berm, flatten that out. We would actually because that's actually a parking street, that's actually exhibit space underneath. We would flatten that out. We would turn that exhibit space to sort of an innie underground into an Audi, but still indoors. Okay. And really create a true central gathering place that also can serve as, or could serve as, another event venue unto itself. That's the idea there. All right. Now, you reposted, oh, T. Cooper reposted the question. All right. And where is it? 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 Oh, you did. I don't see it. Oh, man. Let's see here. Oh, let me go back. I don't see it, T. I don't see it. You may have intended to post it, but I don't see it. Because all I see is T. Cooper, you wrote, I reposted the question, but I don't see the question. Because I'm going back and I'm not seeing, I see T. Cooper just once. And I don't see it again. I don't see you again, rather. Are you sure the question that you posted, did not have... You might want to check how you worded your question, because if it had something in there that couldn't be posted, then it was undoubtedly erased by the system. So you might want to check the language in which you tried to post and do it again. Okay. Meanwhile, moving forward, Eric Tolliver says, years ago, the Seahawks were headed back to Los Angeles, and the Seahawks fan base literally blocked the move, forcing the owner to sell the team. Yep. Malcontent says, PM Blackman, maybe some of that LA Live vibe can work in the Coliseum City. That's always been the idea. Crawford says an NFL stadium in LA Live would have been enormous in downtown LA, but didn't have the space for tailgating. Actually, Crawford, we have the space for tailgating, both around that and across the freeway. And we could build a bridge, coming across that. So if you go across, take 66th Avenue, that bridge, you go across there. From your point of view, this is the Coliseum's over here. From your point of view, crossing 66th Avenue, San Francisco and downtown Oakland are this way, and San Leandro and San Jose are that way. This is 880, right? The Nimitz. And so you cross over. This is the property right over here. It's a large spot of land that I contend should be part of the Coliseum City experience. So, remember Mark Davis made all that noise about wanting all of his parking in front of the stadium? which is what he is not getting in Las Vegas. Talk about, tell the truth to me, man. Just saying, all right. So we got, let's see here. Eric Tolliver says, I got that one. No, I got that one. I got that one. Got that one. Wiggle Baby says, oh, okay. Wiggle Baby says, bring back the NHL Seals. Golden State Seals. Malcontent, Oakland Seals. Malcontent says, it's funny. It's funny we're talking so much about hockey here. I coached the sport in the Bay Area over 25 years. Oh boy, I wish. Wow, is that right? Crawford says, I'm in Los Angeles. Oakland Coliseum is very ideal. Coliseum City, yes. Patrick in Blackness says, the Bay Area could rival New York City. Yeah. John Mark says, no Wiggle Babies, the Oakland Marauders. T. Cooper, you can't find it? No, it's not showing up. T. Cooper, check your wording. Because again, the reason why it's not showing up is either because of what you're using the copy paste. For example, it's hard to copy something and then repaste it if you're using mobile, or there may be some sort of word in it that's not causing it to appear to begin with because it's coming up against the word filter system that I installed. It's one of those two. Now, all right, Wiggle Babies, just retype, because T. Cooper, I can see you typing never mind Zenny because it's not showing up. If you can type that, you can simply retype your question, okay? So, all right, so, Wiggle Baby says, last year the Sharks did an anniversary for the Oakland Seals. John Marks writes, California Golden Seals? Oh, God, no. Yeah, no. No. Joshua Agee says, didn't hear the news, any quick recap? Yes. The Oakland, Las Vegas, UNLV Stadium has been spared the gigantic weight of $150 million additional debt on the bond issue debt service because the GOP tax bill does not take away tax-exempt financing for sports stadiums. Now, Malcontent says it deals with UNLV in essence. Write it out. LX9933 writes, so the stadium bonds will not be taxed after all. Feels like all is lost. No, all is not lost. And all is not lost because, first of all, as I've said before, I was never pinning my hopes on the tax bill because, first of all, the deal already has an enormous economic structural problem. Second of all, 1 October has put this thing in a bind. So, no. What you all are reacting to is something that, and I don't take this personally, it just annoys me. You see headlines from mainstream media and you react to the headline as opposed to knowing the details. If you know the details of this story, of this proposal, it becomes an intellectual shock absorber to the news that's out there, to the bumpy road that is all of this wrong mainstream media news that comes out there. You understand what I'm saying? So you need to understand how this deal works to have this intellectual shock absorber so you're not consistently reacting like, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. No. The deal's already bad. The GOP tax bill just made it worse. Okay? And as I tell anybody who won't listen, look, UNLV wants a stadium. The Raiders cannot afford this stadium, and they have to prove they can cough up $1 billion in sponsorship revenues, sponsorship contributions, and they have not done that. Okay? Can they do it? Hey, you know, it's possible. Come out, you know, go to Macau, get some potential investors from China, you know, really loaded and drunk. Maybe they'll cough up $1 billion. Just saying. Hey, just saying. And again, just saying. John Mark says Dallas Cow pokes. Kevin KD says $150 million tax break is not going to spare the Raiders from the effects of a tragically bad deal. Right. Key Cooper asked me, Wiggle Babies, yeah. Hey, go CSU Rams. Hey, Cooper, type out your question, okay? Otherwise, you keep asking me if I see something, I'm going to think it's just a joke. Type out your question yet again. Don't be lazy. Do it. Now, John Mark says, hey, go CSU Rams. How you doing? How are you? Hey, where's Barry Lee? Barry Lee is probably asleep. I know this is a late night for Barry Lee, okay? Rick Rice says, hi, go CSU. Hey, how you doing? All right. How are you? And go CSU, okay? So, Rick, CSU, how are you doing? Hey, CSU Rams, if I'm not mistaken, didn't the state of Colorado entirely pay for the stadium for that? Joshua Agee says, that meeting was hilarious yesterday. Yeah, it was hilariously bad cover-up. Hey, welcome to Zinny62, everybody. Welcome to the Late Night Show. Rick Rice says, Zinster, can you break down the game against the Cal Pokes this weekend? Yeah, I was actually going to do that tomorrow. Because I planned to just sign off in a few minutes, but I wanted to have a headline that specifically dealt with that. And in that way also it gives me time to really look at the injury report and prep and look at some game film and come off with a really great presentation. But if you want my preliminary analysis of the game, I think the Cowboys are going to kill the Raiders. I really do. I think the Cowboys are better health, they're faster, and they have a more coherent offense, and they have a more physically imposing offensive line. And I'm not one intellectually to rest on that, but look, you would be stupid not to note just how big and fast the Cowboys' offensive line is. All right, and look, when all is said and done, football is still a game of blocking and tackling. There you go. And catching. And throwing. And running. All right? Go see if you Ram. You're going to talk about the games tomorrow night at 9:30. Tune into him first. Come back to me second. Kevin KD says, Raider fans, it's clear the two teams that we dislike the most are the Broncos and the Cowboys. But which of those two teams do you all like the most, dislike the most? You know, I never disliked the Cowboys. And I never felt that as a Raider fan I should dislike the Cowboys. Broncos, different story. But I've always been, particularly under Tom Landry, I was a huge Cowboys fan under Coach Landry. Patrick and Blackman says, oh, LXS is the lawsuit back on, need some hope here. No, but I would not. I'm going to be absolutely blunt. I wouldn't rest on that because it's dormant, and my friends over there, against my kind warnings, rested too much of what they were doing on two approaches. First of all, getting and retaining the best sports attorneys that money could buy and interest could buy. That's just true. They really should be congratulated for doing that, A. But B, believing that that was it. As opposed to, hey, making sure we have not just the attorneys, but also fan base, documents, arguments, political buy-in, all that, whole enchilada. And then an alternative strategy if we don't have the necessary political buy-in. You have to remember something. And I've said this to anyone who would not listen. Again, I've said this to anyone who would not listen. Anybody can file a lawsuit. The only difference between the people you hear about and the people that talk about it is precisely that. There's action, and then there's talk. At the end of the day, you have to file it. And they had something that was fileable. They really did. They rested too much on the JPA giving a thumbs up. I warned them that the JPA would blindside them. They thought they had it in the bag. They didn't. Now, I've been in this game for a long, long time. And what bothered me was that, hey, again, someone asked for my input. And they don't take it. It's like, well, we know. We got it, Zenny. Look, you've been involved in this for like less than a year. I've been involved in this stuff since 1987. Okay. So you tell, right? So I'm like, okay, I got 1987 to 2017. Let's figure this out. 87 to 97, 97 to 2007, right? 2007 to 2017. That's 30 years, right? That's like 30, yeah, that's actually, wait, let's see. 87 to 97, 97 to 2007, 2007 to 2017. Am I missing something? 87, 97, 97, 2007. No, I'm not missing anything. That's 30 years. That's 30 years, okay? That's 30 years. 30, as John Marks put it, 30 years is a long time. Yeah. So, you know, you're putting, I'm putting up my 30 years to your what, 3 months? Okay? I mean, seriously. And when I say that, I'm talking about with respect to government and elected officials and city administrators and city managers and working for them either as an intern, a mayor's aide, a consultant, news columnist, blogger, video blogger, Oakland blog creator, first one, Oakland YouTube partner channel, first one, and Oakland's only consistently active one in over a decade. You know, I have a lot of history with Oakland government. So you're going to take my history and discount that for your plan, and you've only done this for a few months. Okay, yeah. As John Marks says, advantage Zenny, thanks. So anyway, you know, that's where it is. Zenny says, Zenny, you had this since I was a baby. John Marks says, I graduated high school in 87. Class was 80, Skyline. Rick Rice says, would you think about working for the city of Oakland again, Zenny? Yeah, I would think about it. I'm really intent on building this media company right now. I really am, and I'm here for my mom, and I'm, you know, may wind up moving here full time. Okay, so if we were both still in Oakland, I would run for mayor, but not okay. And but even then, I believe, and even then, I'm not even certain. I say run for mayor. I'm not even certain about that. And the reason I'm not is because I believe I can get more done in media, A, and B, it's, you know, that's a bridge I would have to cross under a different set of circumstances. These are not the right ones. But I'm not convinced that being mayor alone can solve the problem. And anyone can build coalitions and cause action. And if you want an example of what I'm talking about, look at Greg Jones. Look at Godfather Grizz. Godfather Grizz, and he may, and you know, my friend is sensitive, and he's going to interpret this as like, oh, he's in, you said this stuff, but I say it with love. Godfather Grizz has done an outstanding job of, really an astounding job, okay, of putting together a diverse group of people and moving forward. So has Ray and Dr. Death and others, all right? So my point is, they're to be applauded for what they've done and can still do. And they're not elected officials. Where they need to improve, and I've said this to them, and they know it, is in how they regard elected officials. Because when you put yourself in that position of being the coalition builder and the action establisher, you become just like an elected official. And if you can't stand that heat, you need to get out of that kitchen. Now, to their credit, they can stand that heat to a degree. But once you have an approach and you realize that approach isn't working, you got to change. Something else too, and I'll say this again. Raider fans in Oakland need to stop their little wars for immature reasons. That, more than anything else, has completely hampered the entire effort to file any kind of lawsuit injunction to stop the Raiders' action. If Raider fans, particularly focused on Oakland, were able to coalesce as one and drop the who's in charge issue and move forward as much as worker ants, believe me, we would have a different type of conversation right now, completely. All right? So, Malcolmton says Zinni should be Libby's senior economic advisor. Yeah, she should have me as that. And Rick Rice says, how long have you been working on your media companies, Zinni? Well, I've established. It's established as a corporation. It was established as a corporation in 2010, and it still is. So the question is how long I've been working as that, and it's been in earnest since 2010. I have 96 blogs, several hundred social media platforms, and as I check right now, I did not file the articles of incorporation. I filed it in Georgia, but I deliberately did not renew the articles of incorporation until I started generating revenue from this source, and that's happening. That's happened. But if you type, Zinni62media.com in LinkedIn, you can see where it comes up, and also it should be listed. Yeah, my company information on Mattermark should come up as. Let's see what it comes up as. It should come up as incomplete because I want it that way. But it's. But again, it doesn't have. It has location, employers, everything else. All right, but yeah. So let's see what else is here. Company information. Zinni62. About Zinni62 Vlogger, Throne Wars. Promise Expert. Let me see. Zinni62media.com. Time one more. Corporate there. And the reason why I didn't is I didn't want to call the weight of a tax if I wasn't generating revenue. But it's registered as Georgia. In fact, it says Zinni62media.com, incorporated, Georgia Business Directory, and it says it was incorporated June 29, 2010, domestic profit corporation type registered, and it's got what my Oakland address, okay, as the agent name of the company and me and so on. It lists it as dissolved, but it wasn't dissolved. It still exists. Where it is that if I refile my articles of incorporation, which are actually already on file there, they just need to throw a switch, then it becomes reinstated. Okay, so that's where that is right now. And again, I didn't want to do that because I wasn't, I hadn't written any checks against it. I had no business obligation that identified Zinni62 Media, as something that was responsible for delivering a client service as opposed to me. So it's more me as a DBA, right? So that's the idea. So the reason why I did that way is because I've gotten some really bad corporate advice that I'm cleaning up from a previous attorney. So I was really sensitive this time to doing it that way. Yet I wanted to be able to take on investors, which I did with Zinni62.com. And once I got to a level, then I could refile the articles of incorporation. I am about at that point, just about. And I say about a month off from refiling the articles of incorporation. All right. So if anybody's listening to this and has any advice, please send me advice, because I am trying to do this in a way that moves the media company forward, grows the media company, and what I want to do, I'm not going to be secretive about it. There are a number of talented media people that are not able to work anymore because they can't command the dollars they used to. They're willing to work with me, and I'm not going to name names, but they are in some cases big names that are willing to learn and do media as I do it with video blogs, because my approach is that media is today personality driven. I mean, look at how you see ESPN, you know who Stephen A. Smith is, or you watch Fox Sports, you know who Colin Cowherd is, and you know who Brian Williams is on NBC, and you know who David Muir is on ABC. We're talking about people and names, and look, this is a people-driven business, and people quote people at the end of the day. You want to see a person. You know, we talk about other personalities we have in sports. We have, well, Judy Bautista, the NFL Network, and everybody else. We have their names and faces. All right. And so if my business model is to get known names and faces as contributors via video, networked around the country in different topic areas, but on this channel. That's the idea. That's what I want to do. And not only that, those names and faces bring traffic to allow us to give light to people who aren't known. So that's the idea. That's the idea. And not only that, all within a platform, a combination of tech, such that this is done cheaply with, you know, extremely low overhead costs. That's the attraction. So there's the model. All right. And I should also add, it's interactive, just as we're interactive. This is so I've laid out the model for you right there. I don't think it should be a secret. So let's see here. Kevin KD says, but none of the sports personalities are credible sports analysts. That's true. And I do think that but see, the kind of technique or technique that I establish has to be built over time, but you need those faces to draw in the people to give you the real meat and potatoes stuff. All right. So you're absolutely right about that. Kevin KD says, I was actually thinking Stephen A. Smith is more entertaining than Cowherd. And then what about Jason, what's his name? You know, Jason, the brother wears the hats. Crawford says, I was hoping Johnny would be on the anniversary of the Raiders giving green line in Las Vegas. The midterms. Aha. Hey, Vincent, how are you? Eric Tolliver says, the fact that you are not the head of all sports affairs in Oakland is the reason I put the blame on leadership of the city of Oakland for losing the Raiders yet again if it happens. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. And I would have loved to have my shot. Okay, I really, really would. All right? I really would. So, John Marks, stop talking and file the injunction, man. You always come in here talking about, file an injunction. Just do it. Stop talking. So, Jason Whitlock. Thank you, Kevin KD. Kevin KD. He's crazy. Yeah, but you know who he is. He's crazy. Okay, fine. Crawford says no to Whitlock. Well, no, I say yes to Whitlock because you say no. John Marks and Forever Oakland need to join forces. Yeah, there you go. Rick Rice says team up with Helen Yee Sports. She has nice attributes. Hey, isn't Helen Yee in Las Vegas? That's a great idea. Because I did think about reaching out to her. And that's a great idea. I'm glad you mentioned that, Rick Rice. That's a great idea. Helen Yee Sports. That is a fantastic idea. Helen Yee. Hey, would you do me a favor and drop me a line or remind me of that? Because I'm headed to Vegas. It would be great to set something up with her. That's a great idea. Helen Yee. I'm glad you said that. Glad you said that. Joseph Benson says, love, pardon the interruption, around the horn on ESPN. Let's see here. Today was big sports and radio guy Mark Francesca's last day. Ah, interesting. and you like Rob Parker. And see, that's what I'm talking about. You guys are talking about who you like and dislike. See, what I'm paying attention to is you know who they are. All right, that's my point. Not that those are my targets, but Helen Yee, I'd like to talk with her. Yeah. John Marks, we have, well, whatever. Kevin KD says, oh yeah, I almost forgot about Helen Yee. I sued to watch her on one of the interviews with athletes. I don't understand that. Or you subbed. Okay. Rick Rice says, I think Helen is in the Bay Area. She's always got interviews with the Diaz brothers in their gym. Okay. I'll check her out. Yeah. And yeah, John Marks, I remember Pete Franklin too. I really do. All right, it's 2:04 in the morning, and I am going to shuffle off to Buffalo. Bet. Joseph Business says, Mike Francesca, you never heard of Mike and the Mad Dogs, any? Oh, I remember that. Yeah. It's been a while. I remember a while. Yeah. Groundbreaking sports radio show for years here in New Jersey and New York on WFAN radio. WFAN. Yeah, I remember. All right, folks. Good night. Hey, how many among you has already seen, or have already seen, excuse me, The Last Jedi? Me. Yeah, but that's why we have good games tomorrow. We have the Bears and the Lions, the Chargers and Chiefs. Who I got? Stay tuned tomorrow. I'll let you know. Good night, everybody. Good night, over. See you all. Don't forget to check out Go CSU Rams live stream. As at 9:30 Eastern, I think it is. I'll see you guys. All right. No spoilers. John Marks. That's you. You got it. You the man, Rick Rice. And thank you, Helen Yee. Great idea. Good night, everybody. Love, peace, soul, and get some rest. Has anyone seen The Last Jedi other than me? See The Last Jedi. Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly. That was one of the better ones, wasn't it? Dilly dilly. 9:30 p.m. Mountain for Go CSU Rams. Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly. All right. Dilly dilly. Dilly dilly.